Today I want to talk about a certain type of Captain Save-a-hoe. We all heard the term Captain Save-a-hoe before. We all have. But there's a different type of Captain Save-a-hoe. Let's call it Captain Shame-a-hoe, i.e. Slut-Shaming. Which, back in the previous generations, it was called the Madonna Whore Complex. And society, traditional patriarchal society, brainwashed people into thinking that, women are not supposed to be in charge of their own sexual agency, and that, men should always do the choosing because it's a domination ego thing, alright? And that lasted for a very long time, as long as you denied women their basic civil liberties. So, of course, you have guys like Donovan Sharp and a lot of other people alike who believe that sluts should be shamed, and that they believe that pussy is more valuable than dick, or egg is more valuable than sperm. Because that's the way it's always been, according to some philosopher or scientist or thinker who's been dead for 100 or 200 years. But check this out, right? People also believe that black people were inhumane in that same time period. People thought that the devil had a formidable penis. People lynched people for believing in the wrong God, or for looking a white person in the eye. Some people never ever thought that an iPhone or that any phone company could get away with having a cell phone that doesn't have a keyboard, that only has a touch screen. People never ever thought that there could be such thing as a hybrid vehicle that can operate not just off gas, but battery and computer. So a lot of these idiots want to go back to the so-called good old days of traditionalism, just because women stayed at home barefoot, pregnant in the kitchen. Why stop there? Why don't you just bring back slavery while you're at it? Or lynching people because of a false rape accusation. And I'm not talking about a high-tech lynching. I'm talking about the rope in the tree, old school lynching. Why don't you just bring that back? Why don't you bring back cannibalism? Because back in the old days, people ate other humans in order to survive. Why don't you bring that back? Why don't you bring back segregation? Then if you brought that back, then maybe a guy like Donovan Sharp, let's say, for example, he probably wouldn't even be alive, because, he says he's an African-American male, but if you check out his skin tone, you can tell that he's more often than not biracial. I don't care if 75-25 or there's partial something else in his lineage, okay? So let's not stop there. And this is me speaking, this is man shit I'm talking about, because I'm a man. You got a lot of guys out here whose egos are very fucking fragile. And of course, this is depicted in film, television. Yeah, a lot of film and television in American society nowadays show most men as being incompetent buffoons. They're always telling corny ass vulgar jokes, and they're always the butt of somebody else's joke. Nobody takes them seriously. But again, as I've mentioned, art imitates life. And then if you check out good movies like The Best Man with Morris Chestnut, and then you have Chasing Amy with Ben Affleck. He fell in love with the girl of his life, but he found out when she was in high school she used to get ran through a lot, and his ego and his inferiority complex at the end of the day cost him the love of his life, because she walked out on him because he was so insecure. It's karma. As far as what some guys call slut shaming, I call it Captain Shame-a-hoe, which is another form of playing Captain Save-a-hoe, which is another beta male tendency. What they're trying to do is they're trying to shame women and make them feel guilty about their natural impulses, or trying to shame women into wanting to be with guys like them. It's just like, and a lot of these guys, they sit around and they read game blogs, and like some of these, I see why a lot of these motherfuckers read game blogs and spend all their time on YouTube. And a lot of guys, black and white, they dream of using game or POA, of trying to find the right one. But trying to find the right one, or hold on to the right one, is the very definition of pedestalizing also. Alright? You know, you got a lot of black YouTube bloggers. They dream of using game or black respectability politics to try to turn Negro bedwenches or hoes into housewives. Just like on white game blogs, they dream of using game to try to land some type of WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant type of ass, or trying to land some type of Nazi Germany white supremacist type of ass. All right. And I say this is this is another type of self-inflicted form of stupidity. You know, I don't care if it's white manosphere, black manosphere, all, you know, look. And a lot of these guys, they advocate for the return of a lot of lifestyles and ideals that any idiot would reject. Even with the way things are right now, even with prostitution being illegal in the USA, nobody in their right mind will accept an arranged marriage. Only very few people who are desperate. And I'm going to elaborate on something that a commentator said on Avocados Diaboli's blog topic about HBD, IQ obsessed morons. You know, these men, they yell and scream at the top of their lungs about how, oh, bitches ain't shit and they're sluts and whores and sluts need to be shamed. And they believe that there should be a return to 1950s traditionalism and arranged marriage and that kind of thing. And they advocate that so much because that is the only way that guys like that could ever get a relationship with a woman. And these guys think that they're too good to go out there and go tricking. And all they want to do is just emulate white patriarchy. They want to do what the white man has done for 400 years. They want to limit the distribution of money and resources, and they want to create systems of racism, classism, and sexism to try to force and coerce and shame women into wanting to be with guys like that. And then they have other types of shaming language. Oh, you women are whores, you're dirty, you're sluts. Stay away from those niggers. They're going to force you to start hoeing and this and that and the third. Oh, stay away from those Asian men. They have small penises. And they do all of that to try to shame and coerce women into wanting to be with guys like them just because they have money or they own point and they have an infrastructure and that's it. But sadly for them, those days are gone and that shit ain't coming back. So if a woman does get into a relationship with a guy like that, just like if a woman nowadays marry a doctor or a lawyer, she's not marrying him because she loves him or lusts him. She's marrying him because of his money so that she can monopolize his assets, and that's it. And then once she's done with him or he's done with her and she finds out how boring, how lame he is, she's either going to do one of two things. One, get a job, make her own bread. Or two, if she wants to be a bitch about it, she's going to take his ass to court and take all his money, or as much as the legal system allows her to get away with. And then who's she right back screwing? So from a mathematical and from a biological and a pragmatic perspective, we know who our winners are and who's not. In life, there are winners and losers, and not everybody's going to get what the fuck they want. So we know who's smart and we know who's inferior at the end of the day and who's not. But these people have their IQ and ACT and all that shaming language and their degrees and infrastructures and their empirical data and stem cell research or empirical research or whatever to help these people mentally masturbate themselves and feel good about themselves. And that's what this shit is all about. So I don't care if it's Captain Save 'em or Captain Shame 'em, whatever. Both of them, same shit, different laxative. Or same shit, same motive, same ulterior motive. Another point I wanted to mention is that, I travel outside of the USA, and without getting into details as to, where and, where all I've been to, I know that not long ago I went out to Canada with a former friend of mine who I don't talk to anymore. But, and he said the same thing that I'm going to say now, that, it seems like over in places like even certain, Canada, it seems like people are more liberated and people have better social relations and sexual relations than they do here in the USA. And the USA is a very sex-obsessed, sexually conservative country. And the reason, and because it's so conservative, that's the reason why women's sexuality is also used to sell products like body wash and all this kind of shit, right? You know, and you know, it's very unhealthy. I will agree with that. But him and I both came to the conclusion that, you know, in a lot of countries that I went to, and even he went to, you know, people that there's a more healthier social dynamic, as it should be, you know. But you got a lot of idiots out here in the USA, and they make these shitty videos talking about, you know, just sounding all feminine. Women are not built to take that much dick. Women are not built to sleep around and have a whole bunch of sex like men. Let me say something, and then this is it, and then I'm done with this shit. You know, this whole idea that women are supposed to be picky or choosy, and that women are supposed to save themselves with just only maybe one or two husbands, that's a bunch of bullshit. You know, of course, some people are very picky, as they should be, but then for female, they like to have sex for the same reason that men do. It's for physical release, stress reliever, physical contact, and because they really like that person at the heat of the moment, you know, because it feels good, and for an orgasm. I mean, sure, some women do it for fame and attention and for money and for exchange of money and financial favors and materialistic gain. Okay, and that's fine, but regardless, women who embrace their femininity knows that she's not going to get far in life by being a bitch or a cunt. But in a society that keeps putting them on pedestals and coveting them and overvaluing and overprotecting them like they're kids, and, you know, putting them on pedestals and shaming them, after a while that karma is going to hit. And karma has come. The tables have turned here in the USA. And a lot of men are very unhappy, and they just mad because they cannot control these females. So in a society where people can keep putting them on pedestals, they can get away with a lot of fucked up shit. You know, and I've said it before, that foreign men don't sweat their women like we do here in the USA. Ain't nobody gonna play Cape Crusader and Captain Save-a-hoe or Captain Shame-a-hoe, or basically save the damsel in distress, unless he knows that he's gonna get something in return. In some of these third world countries, look, grown women are on their own, especially if she's married, or especially if she has a job. Even if she's single and she has a job and she's working, she's on her own. All right? So for someone to sit up and say, you know, that oh, women and men shouldn't do this because, oh, one thing is more valuable than the other, you know, or a guy who says that women should not sleep around or whatever because, oh, pussy's more valuable than D because somebody else said so. Well, that's just how it's always been in traditional societies. I'm like, okay, well, if that was true, how can you explain the fact that if a woman is feeling a guy and she just met him, and then an hour and a half, 2 hours later after they met, then she's letting him hit it? How can you explain, if you travel outside of the USA and go to some foreign countries, you can get decent and high quality and better quality and high quantity of bad bitches in a foreign non-Western country? How can you explain the fact that you can get far better and a far cheaper deal overseas, as long as you keep your mouth shut and you're discreet about it, and as long as you're not going around bragging and name dropping destinations? How can you also explain the fact that if it is true that pussy's more valuable than dick, if it is true, then why is it that, you know, in the black community, females give it up so easy because of this stereotype that, oh, it's hard to find alpha black male or on point black male who's all about handling his business, and females be fighting each other just to try to get a hold of him, if that is true. So that's my take on it, and that's just how it goes. I dare anybody to challenge me on this. I don't care who it is. I dare anyone to challenge me and to prove me wrong.